The afternoon rush at Parker Elite Motors in Denver, Colorado, was in full swing when a sharp voice echoed across the showroom. "I'm not paying that bill." Every customer and employee turned toward the service counter. Standing there in a tailored crimson suit was Vanessa Parker, the CEO of Parker Automotive Group, one of the largest luxury dealership chains in the western United States. Across from her stood Ethan Brooks, a quiet mechanic whose grease-stained uniform told the story of a long day's work. In his hand was an invoice. The total amount due was $199. Vanessa crossed her arms. "Your team kept my car 2 hours longer than promised. I'm not paying a penny." Ethan remained calm. "The repair was completed correctly, ma'am. We also fixed an additional issue we discovered that could have become dangerous. I didn't authorize it. We didn't charge you for that part." Vanessa stared at him. "Then that's your problem." The showroom fell silent. No one expected what would happen next morning. Because less than 24 hours later, Vanessa's father would walk into the same garage carrying a check worth $19 million, and hand it directly to Ethan Brooks. But to understand why, we need to go back a little. 38-year-old Ethan Brooks wasn't the kind of person who complained. Life had already given him enough reasons to. 5 years earlier, his wife, Claire, had passed away after a sudden illness. One day they were planning summer vacations with their daughter. A few months later, Ethan was standing alone in a hospital hallway trying to explain to 6-year-old Lily why mom wasn't coming home. Since then, Ethan had done everything himself. School lunches, homework, soccer practice, nightmares, birthday parties, broken hearts. All while working full-time as a mechanic. Money was often tight. Sleep was rare. But Ethan never allowed bitterness to settle in his heart. He believed in one simple rule. Treat people with kindness, even when life doesn't treat you kindly. That belief would soon change everything. The week before the incident, an elderly man arrived at Parker Elite Motors driving a worn-out pickup truck. Most customers ignored him. Some employees assumed he couldn't afford the luxury dealership services. But Ethan noticed something different. The man looked exhausted. Confused. Lost. Ethan walked over with a smile. "How can I help you today, sir?" The man explained that his truck had broken down while traveling across Colorado. He was on his way to visit an old friend and didn't know where else to go. After inspection, Ethan discovered the repair would take several hours. The elderly man sighed. "I guess I'll just wait." Ethan looked outside. Snow was beginning to fall. "No, you won't." The mechanic bought him lunch from a nearby diner. He gave him a comfortable chair in the employee break room. And throughout the afternoon, he checked on him repeatedly. The old man seemed surprised. "You don't even know me." Ethan shrugged. "My dad taught me that everyone deserves respect." The elderly visitor smiled. That smile lingered for a long time. What Ethan didn't know was that the man wasn't an ordinary traveler. His name was Richard Parker, founder of Parker Automotive Group, and Vanessa Parker's father. Although officially retired, Richard occasionally traveled anonymously to visit company locations. He wanted to see how people were treated when executives weren't watching. Most employees never recognized him. Ethan certainly didn't. To Ethan, he was simply an older man who needed help. Nothing more. Nothing less. A week later came the confrontation. Vanessa's luxury sports car had developed an electrical issue. Ethan's team repaired it. The final bill totaled $199. A routine charge. Nothing unusual. But Vanessa arrived in a terrible mood. A major business deal had collapsed that morning. Investors were pressuring her. She felt overwhelmed. And unfortunately, Ethan became the target of her frustration. Customers watched uncomfortably as she challenged every detail on the invoice. When Ethan patiently explained the repairs, she became even more irritated. Finally she slid the paperwork back across the counter. "I'm the CEO. If I say I'm not paying, I'm not paying." The room grew quiet. Several employees looked away. Ethan could have argued. He could have reminded her that company policy applied to everyone. Instead, he took a breath. Then he said something unexpected. "It's okay." Vanessa blinked. "What?" "It's okay. Have a good day." Her expression shifted briefly. Almost as if she expected a fight. But Ethan simply smiled. Not a sarcastic smile. A genuine one. Then he returned to work. For a moment, Vanessa looked uncomfortable. But she quickly turned and left. The incident became the talk of the dealership. Many employees were angry. Others felt Ethan had been treated unfairly. Yet Ethan never complained. That evening he picked up Lily from soccer practice and forgot about the entire thing. Or so he thought. The next morning began like any other. Coffee. Toolbox. Repair orders. Customers. Then a black sedan rolled slowly into the service area. Employees immediately recognized the passenger. Richard Parker. The company founder. People straightened their uniforms. Managers hurried over. Whispers spread through the building. Richard stepped out carrying a small leather briefcase. His eyes scanned the garage. Then he spotted Ethan. "There you are." Ethan wiped his hands on a rag. "Good morning, sir." Richard smiled warmly. "Can we talk?" Within minutes, curious employees gathered nearby. Vanessa arrived unexpectedly after hearing her father was visiting. She looked confused. "Dad? What are you doing here?" Richard didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned toward Ethan. Then he opened the briefcase. Inside sat a large envelope. The entire garage fell silent. Richard pulled out a check. A very large check. $19 million. Several people thought it had to be a joke. It wasn't. Richard held it out toward Ethan. "This belongs to you." The mechanic stared. "I think there's been a mistake." "No mistake." Ethan looked completely bewildered. Richard smiled. "A week ago, you helped an old man with a broken truck." Recognition flashed across Ethan's face. "The traveler?" Richard nodded. "That traveler happened to be me." Gasps spread through the room. Vanessa's eyes widened. Richard continued. "You treated me with dignity when you believed I had nothing to offer you." Ethan remained speechless. "You bought me lunch. You listened. You showed kindness without expecting anything in return." Richard paused. "That's becoming rare." Vanessa stepped forward. "Dad, $19 million? Richard finally looked at her. His expression wasn't angry. But it was serious. "Do you know why our company became successful?" She stayed silent. "Because for 40 years, I taught every employee that people matter more than profits." The room felt frozen. Richard turned back toward Ethan. 3 years ago, I established a foundation fund." He explained that the money wasn't a personal gift. Instead, it was funding for a new nationwide initiative. Richard wanted Ethan to lead a program that provided free vehicle repairs for struggling single parents, veterans, elderly drivers, and families facing emergencies. The budget? $19 million. And Ethan would oversee the entire project. The garage erupted into applause. Some employees even wiped away tears. Ethan looked stunned. "Why me?" Richard answered immediately. "Because kindness can be taught. But character cannot. Vanessa lowered her eyes. For the first time, she seemed genuinely affected. She remembered the previous afternoon. The invoice. The argument. The way Ethan had chosen grace instead of humiliation. Meanwhile, she had allowed stress to justify arrogance. The realization hurt. After the meeting ended, she approached Ethan privately. The mechanic expected another confrontation. Instead, Vanessa handed him an envelope. Inside was a check. For $199. Along with something else. A handwritten note. She spoke quietly. "I owe you an apology." Ethan looked surprised. Vanessa continued. "I was frustrated. But that's not an excuse." Her voice softened. "My father spent years trying to teach me the lesson you demonstrated in 30 seconds. For a moment neither spoke. Then Ethan smiled. "It's okay." The same words he had used the day before. But now they carried a completely different meaning. Over the next 2 years, the Brooks Family Mobility Foundation transformed thousands of lives. Single mothers received free repairs that allowed them to keep working. Veterans received transportation assistance. Elderly drivers received safety inspections at no cost. Families facing emergencies found unexpected support. Stories of kindness spread across multiple states. Every location operated under one simple principle displayed on the wall. Treat every person like they matter, because they do. The phrase became the foundation's motto. And it came directly from Ethan. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan stood outside a community repair event watching volunteers help dozens of families. Beside him stood Lily, now 11 years old. She looked around at the smiling faces. "Dad?" "Yeah. Mom would be proud of you." Ethan felt emotion catch in his throat. He looked toward the sky. Then he smiled. "I hope so." Lily slipped her hand into his. And together they watched hundreds of strangers helping one another. Not because they had to. But because they wanted to. The truth is, kindness rarely feels important in the moment. Buying lunch for a stranger. Showing patience during an argument. Choosing grace when someone treats you unfairly. Most people assume those moments disappear. But they don't. They ripple outward in ways we may never see. Ethan Brooks never helped Richard Parker because he expected a reward. He helped because it was the right thing to do. And that's what made all the difference. Because sometimes the greatest opportunities don't arrive through talent, status, or connections. Sometimes they arrive through character. And sometimes a simple act of kindness can open a door worth far more than $19 million. It can change lives. Including your own. The lesson of this story is simple: never underestimate the value of treating people with dignity and kindness. You never know whose life you're touching, or how far that kindness will travel.